Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's DBMS MCQs class 2, we will discuss very important previous year UGC NET DBMS questions with deep explanations, real-time examples. These questions are very important for UGC NET, KSET and APSET and other computer science competitive exams. So watch the video completely and let's start today's session. Question number 1. In the relational model, cardinality is termed as number of tuples, number of attributes, number of tables, number of constraints. Correct answer, number of tuples. Now let's understand this question. The total number carefully. In DBMS, cardinality attributes, number of tables, number of constraints. Correct answer is option A, number of tuples. Number of tuples. Now let's understand this question carefully. In DBMS, cardinality means the total number of rows present in a table. The total number of rows present in a table. In relational model, row is equal to tuple, column is equal to attributes. Row is equal to tuple, columns is equal to attribute. Okay, total number of rows present in a table we called as a cardinality. Suppose a student table contained 100 student records. Okay, suppose a student table contained 100 student records. Then the cardinality of the table is 100. In a college database, if 500 students are stored in a student table, then the cardinality is 50. Okay. So here there are two columns are there. For example, ID and name. So here I am giving the numbers of ID 1, 2, 3 and I am giving some name X, Y and Z. So here how many rows are present? There are 3 rows are present. So ID number 1, ID number 2 and ID number 3. So how many rows are present? 3 rows are present. So the cardinality of relational model is for this table is 3. Okay. Now let's see why remaining options are wrong. So option B, number of attributes, means the columns which is called degree, not cardinality. Total number of rows we called as a cardinality. So here the number of attributes, it is not a cardinality. The number of attributes we called as a degree of the relation. The degree of relation we called as number of attributes. So number of table is not related to the cardinality. Number of constraints also has a no relation with the cardinality. So simple exam trick to remember the cardinality. Cardinality means rows. Rows is nothing but tuples. Degree is nothing but columns. Columns are nothing but the number of attributes. Okay. So now going to the question number 2. Relational calculus is a procedural language, non-procedural language, data definition language, high-level language. So the correct answer for this question is non-procedural language. Option B is the correct answer. So relational calculus is a non-procedural query language. Relational calculus is a non-procedural query language. So what is the meaning of non-procedural? So non-procedural means we specify what data is needed, not how to retrieve it. Just we are doing what the data is needed. So we are not retrieving the data, that we call as a non-procedural language. So for example, by using SQL select statement, okay, whenever you are using SQL select statement, so users usually specify what data they want. So for example, select star from student, select star from student, where marks, where marks greater than 90. This is the syntax for the select statement. Where 90. Here we specify required result only. So student marks were greater than 90 means whenever the values greater than 90, then only we display the values from the student table. So we are getting the exact data. We are not retrieving the data. So this we called as a non-procedural language. Okay. So the procedural language is nothing but what? Procedural language is wrong because the procedural language explain the step-by-step procedure. It will explain the step-by-step procedure. Data definition language is used to database definition like create, attribute and alter. So D, it is high level language, is too general and not specific for this particular answer. So simple exam trick you need to remember what is relational calculus is. The relational calculus is nothing but a relational algebra, relational, a relational algebra. So what is the relational algebra? The relational algebra is nothing but, it is nothing but a procedural relational calculus. Then relational procedural relational calculus is nothing but it is transferring to the non-procedural language. Okay. So there are two types of the procedural language and non-procedural language. So whenever the procedural relational algebra we called as a procedural relational calculus, relational algebra, and calculus is nothing but the non-procedural language. I'm going to the question number 3. The view of total database content is conceptual view, internal view, external view, and physical view. So the view of total database content is, the correct answer for this question is option A, conceptual view. So conceptual view is nothing but what? Conceptual views, it shows the complete database structure. Conceptual view, it describes what? It describes the total structure of the database. The total structure of the database. So total structure means what? It contains what? It contains the tables. It contains the tables, relationships, constraints, and entire logical structure of database. What is that? Conceptual way, it shows the complete database structure. So which type of database structure? The logical structure of database we called as a conceptual view. For example, there is some university database is there. There is some university database is there. what is that university database? It is included. So here there are different information is there in a university. So what is the conceptual view? Includes the student tables data, faculty table data, and course table data, relationships among these three: college, student, faculty, course table. So each and every table there is some relation is there. So the relationship between these three among we called as a logical data structure, that we call as a conceptual view. Okay. So internal view, what is the internal view? Internal view, it will deals with the storage level. Okay. And if there is some architecture is there. So that is, there are three types of views are there: conceptual view, internal view, and external view. So internal view we called as a storage details. Here which details are stored? The storage details are stored in a internal view. And what is the external view? It is nothing but the users level. Okay na? The external view we called as a user level. Users level. So users only seeing the data outside of the data, they are saying, they are not saying about the inside of the data. So what is the physical view? Physical view, it explains how data is physically stored in a memory. Okay, na? It deals with only the storage details, and it will deals with the internally how data is stored in a memory. So simple conceptual view is nothing but complete database view we called as a conceptual view. Okay. Moving to the question number 3. Cartesian product in relational algebra is unary operator, binary operator, ternary operator, and not defined. So what is the answer? The correct answer is binary operator. So we already discussed the Cartesian product in a previous class. So sum of products we called as a Cartesian product. So here which operator of these Cartesian product is binary operators. So what is that Cartesian product? It combines the tuples from two relations. It combines what? Tuples or attributes? It combines the tuples of two attributes. What is the tuples? Tuples are nothing but the rows. Whenever you combine the rows, then we call it as a Cartesian product. So since it operates on two tables, right? So it is called as a binary operator. So if you want to combine the two rows, which operator we are using? The combination we are using the two tables, that operator is called as a binary operator. This operator is called as a binary operator. So I will give an example. If a table, there is one table is there, and there are two columns are there in a table A and B. So there are two tables are there, table A and table B. In a table A, there are two rows are there. Okay, how many rows are there in a table? There are two rows. For example, these columns are A and B. And table B, how many rows are there? In a table B, three rows are there. In a table B, three rows are there. Here, two rows, and here, three rows. So if you want to find out the partition product, what is the formula? So the formula for this M cross N. So here M is nothing but table A and N is nothing but the table N. So what is M cross N? How many rows? Two rows. And in a B table, how many rows? 3 rows. Then total how many rows? 6 rows. So this we called as a Cartesian product. This Cartesian product operator we called as a binary operator. Okay. So here what is the unary operator? Unary operator works only a single table only. Binary operator means two tables and unary operators means single table, and ternary operator it is works on three relations. So not defined, it is not incorrect because the Cartesian product is clearly defined in a algebra. Okay. So the correct answer for this Cartesian product in a relational algebra is binary operator. So simple exam trick you need to remember for the question. Join and Cartesian products are binary operators. Okay. What are the binary operators? Join and Cartesian product are binary operators. Okay. Now moving to the next question. Question number 5. DML is provided for what? Description of logical structure, addition of new structures, manipulation and processing of database, definition of physical structure. Correct answer for this question is manipulation and processing of database. So DML stands for what? DML stands for data manipulation language. It stands for what? Data manipulation data manipulation language. Okay. So it is used for what? Data manipulation means we are modifying the data. So there are some commands are there for the DML is insert, update, delete and select the data. These are the commands are called as a DML manipulation. DML is nothing but data manipulation language. Simple example I will give. When a bank employee updates the customer balance, okay, na? There is one bank employee is there. That employee wants to update the customer balance. The DML commands are used for the updating the employee's value. So here we are changing the existing information into the new information, then that we call as a manipulation and processing of data. So here description of logical structure. The logical structure is belongs to what? The logical structure is belongs to DDL, not for a DML. The addition of new structures, it is nothing but the addition of new structure is also belongs to the DDL. And definition of physical structure is what? The physical structure it is handled by the there are just now we discussed with the views, right? That we call as a three-level architecture. There is conceptual view, internal view and external view. It is belongs to the physical structure, not a DML commands. Okay, the correct answer is option C, manipulation and processing of data. So moving to the next question. Question number 6. As class is used to in SQL for what? As class is used in SQL for what? Selection operator, rename operator, join operator and projection operator. The as class in SQL used for the renaming the tables or columns temporarily. Okay, na? The as is nothing but the rename operation. So why it is used to rename? This is used for renaming the tables or columns the temporarily, not permanently. For example, in a table name student is there. Okay, na? One table name is there student. So if you want to change the table name student into class, so then which class we need to use? We need to use the as class, okay, to rename the column as well as you can rename the table also, but not permanently. Only for the temporary basis we can rename the table or column. Okay. So what is the column? The selection operator. Selection operators means choosing rows using where class. So if you want to choosing the rows using the which class, using the where class. And join operator, it combines the multiple tables. It combines multiple tables. And what is the projection operation? It selects the specific column. So selection operation, we are selecting what? We are selecting the rows, and the opposite for the selection is projection operation. We are selecting the columns. Okay. So simple exam trick. The as keyword is nothing but the alias name. Okay, now simple we can call it as a alias name. As keyword is nothing but the alias name, then that is nothing but the temporary. We are renaming the temporarily. Okay. Moving to the next question. Question number 7. ODBC stands for. ODBC stands for what? Object database connectivity, Oracle database connectivity, Oracle Overall database connectivity, Oracle database connectivity, Open database connectivity. So the correct answer for this question is option D. ODBC stands for what? Open database connectivity. This question we are using in a, it is useful in a advanced Java also. In advanced Java, there are different layers are there, ODBC, JDBC like that. So there we are using this ODBC also. So here using in a open database connectivity, it is a standard interface. It is nothing but one interface to connect the applications with the database. Okay. The open database connectivity is nothing but one interface. So what is the interface? Interface are nothing but the mediator. So it is connecting what? It is connecting the applications with the database. So I will give one example. So a Java or a Python applications are there. So if you want to connect the Java and Python applications to connecting to MySQL or SQL, if you want to connect to MySQL or SQL, the server may use which drivers? This is nothing but the driver or database. Okay, na? So if you want to connect the Java with MySQL database, in between which thing we are using, in between we using the driver called open database connectivity. This is nothing but one interface. Okay. So object to database connectivity is nothing but what? It is nothing incorrect expansion. The Oracle database is connected. Oral database connectivity is a meaningful statement. And Oracle database connectivity, it is referred only to the Oracle database, not general standard. Only for the Oracle, we are using the Oracle database connectivity. And if you want to use it for the general standard thing, we are using open data connectivity. Okay. So simple one. So open means nothing but what? Open database connectivity is nothing but we can connect to the anything. Okay. This is the correct answer. Now let's move into the next question. Question number 8. Architecture of database can be viewed as 2 levels, 4 levels, 3 levels, and 1 level. The architecture of database can be viewed as 3 level. Okay, this we call as the levels of architecture of database. How many database type levels are there? There are 3 levels are there in a database architecture. Okay, the first one is external level. This we call as a view level also. External level, then conceptual level, And what is the third one? Internal level. So there are three levels are there. Internal level is the only for the view purpose we are using the internal. Users are using the external level. So what is the internal level? It stores the storage details. Sorry, conceptual view. The conceptual view is nothing but the logical structure of the database. It is nothing but the logical structure. What is the logical structure? How the tables are creating, how the relationships are creating, how the attributes and columns are creating. That is nothing but the logical structure. The overall structure is stored in a conceptual view. And what is the internal view? The storage details are stored in a internal view. Okay. So for example, external view, it shows what only there is some website is there. For example, if you take an example of website, so what is the external view? External view will shows only the student portal view. Student, for example, college website you take, student portal view. So only the student table only we are using. The conceptual view is what? It contains the complete university database. Complete university database. And internal is what? We will describe about the hard disk. Okay, if you take one university website example, the external level is nothing but only we are using the student portal view, and the overall university database is nothing but the conceptual view. The internal level is nothing but the how the details are storing in a hard disk. Okay, na? These three level database architecture is very very important. Okay, now moving to the next question. Question number 9. In relational model, relations are termed as what? Tuples, attributes, tables, and rows. In relational database model, a relation is represented as a tables. Okay, so we are already discussed the tuples means what? The tuples are nothing but the rows, and attributes are nothing but the columns. So again, rows, there is no rows is nothing but the tuples. Okay, na? In a model relations, each and every relation, rows is nothing but tables, columns is nothing but attributes. The overall relation we call as a table. So this we call as a relational means the student. For example, there is one student table is there. So what is the relation? The student table is one relation. Okay, that is nothing but the relational model. Moving to the next question. Question number 10. The database schema is written in HLL, DML, DDL, and DCL. So the correct answer is DDL. Database schema, it defines what schema is nothing but the structure of the database we called as a schema. Structure of the database we called as a schema. So remember, this schema is very very important. Schema, the overall structure of the table or overall structure of the database we called as a schema. Here DCL is what? DDL is nothing but what? The definition of the language. The definition of the table, it is stored in which will come which DDL language. There are different types of languages are there. DCL, DDL, DML, and transaction control language TCL. So the definition, the overall structure, it is described in which language? The DDL language. The correct option is option C. Moving to the next question. Question number 11. A schema describes, just now we discussed about the schema, right? The schema describes was data elements, records and files, record relationships, and all of this. So schema is nothing but the structure of the table means the data elements also there, the file data records are there, the relationship between each and every record is also there. So the correct answer is all of this. Database elements, records and files, records and relationships, and all of this. The correct answer for the schema is all of this. Going to the next question. Question number 2. An embedded pointer provides what? Physical record key, an inserted index, secondary access path, all of this. Embedded pointers. So what is the meaning of embedded pointers? The embedded pointer helps establish the connection between the records. Embedded pointers. Okay, na? Embedded pointer, it is nothing but it is establishing the connection. It will establishing the connection from whom. It will establishing the connection between whom, between the records. Each and every records there is the connection is established. That connection we call as a embedded pointer. Okay, they provide what? They provide the physical record access like indexes, secondary access paths. Okay, I will give one example. The linked records in a hierarchical or a network database use the pointers of navigation. Okay, na? This is the pointer symbol. The linked records in a hierarchical structure of the network we called as a pointers. Okay, so why these options are wrong? The option A, physical record key. So this option is correct because all of these becomes the incorrect answer. So simple exam trick if you want to remember, if all options are technically correct, carefully check all of these. The correct answer of this question is all of this. Embedded physical record key, yes, and inserted index we are using for inserting index also, secondary access path also, and physical record key. An embedded pointer, again I am telling, an embedded pointer, it is establishing the connection between the records. So what are the records here? There are physical record access is there, indexes are there, and secondary access path is also there. Okay, now moving to the next question. Question number 13. In database architecture, external level is what? So just now we discussed about the 3-level architecture. Now tell me what is the correct answer? The external level is nothing but what? The external level we called as a view level. The correct answer for this question is the external level is nothing but the view level. It is also called as a view level. It shows the database according to the user requirements. Based on the user requirements only the database is showing. So student sees only marks, but faculty sees attendance. So faculty sees only the marks and students sees only the marks and faculty sees only the attendance. So if the admin wants to see the data, they will see the complete database. Okay, physical level, again I am telling physical level, it is handling the handles the storage. Logical level is nothing but the conceptual level and logical level, and the external level is nothing but the user level. The correct answer is nothing but the view level. Moving to the next question. Question number 14. An entity set that does not have sufficient attributes to form primary key is what? Strong entity set, weak entity set, simple entity set, and primary entity set. An entity set that does not have sufficient attributes, because if they want 4 attributes but they don't have 4 attributes, they have only 1 attribute, but because that is not a sufficient attributes of primary key is what? The does not have a sufficient attributes we call as a weak entity set. The correct answer for this question is weak entity. So weak entity cannot uniquely identify the entities using its own attributes. It depends on what? The weak entity depends on the strong entity. Okay. So we'll give an example. The dependent family members are there. There is one insurance is there. The dependent family members in insurance database depends on employee entity. Yes. So a strong entity has its own primary key, but weak entity it doesn't have any own primary key. It depends on the strong entity. Strong entity have own primary key. Weak entity doesn't have own primary key. We are depending upon for the strong entity to get the primary key. And simple entity is not related to the key. There are different types of keys are there. Strong, there are two types of entities are there, strong entity and weak entity. The simple entities is not a correct term. And primary entity said it is not also standard type of ER model. Okay. This simple example we need to remember, weak entity means it depends on the other entity. Okay. Weak entity means it depends on the other entity. Okay. Now going to the next question. Question number 15. A primary key for an entity is what? Candidate key, an attribute, unique attribute, and super key. In DBMS first class, we discussed about the super key, right? Yes. Primary key is selected from what? It is selected from the candidate key. Okay. The candidate key is uniquely identify the record. So in a table, it will identify the uniquely identify column. For example, student ID is there, student name is there, and student address is there. If you know the student ID, we can identify remaining details based through the ID, name, address also we can find out. So here what is the uniquely identified row? The uniquely identify is nothing but the student ID. So that we call as a candidate key. So that candidate key uniquely identify the records. So then we will selecting the primary key from the candidate key. So one candidate key, if we, in a for example in a table, so only one candidate key is there? No. Sometimes there are two candidate keys also there. It is student ID, that is nothing but hall ticket number, and here Aadhaar number and name. There are three columns are there. So student ID, that is nothing but hall ticket number, is also uniquely identified, and Aadhaar card number is also identified uniquely. Yes, here there are two primary keys are there. Student ID is one, uniquely identifying, and Aadhaar number is uniquely identified. So these we call as a candidate key. For these two candidates key, we are selecting one. For example, if I selecting student ID, this student ID is a primary key. Okay. So student table contain roll number, Aadhaar number. Yes. So here the both uniquely identify the student. So one is selected as a primary key. So attribute cannot uniquely identifying the record. So this is not a correct answer. The unique attribute is nothing but may not always become unique attribute. If unique attribute is there, so that is okay. But always it is not becoming a primary key. The super key may contains the unnecessary attributes. Okay. So simple thing, candidate key is nothing but the selected as candidate key. The correct answer is candidate key. We're moving to the next question. Question number 16. Aggregate functions in SQL are greatest, least, and ABS, sum, count, and average, upper, lower, and length, sort, power, and mod. So what is the correct answer? The correct answer for this question is sum, count, and average. These are the types are there in a aggregate functions. Okay. Then what is the aggregation function? The aggregate function, it performs the calculations on multiple rows and it will calculate the multiple rows and then the result is in a single value. We will get the result in a single value. The important aggregate functions are is sum, count, average, and there are two more is there, min and max. Min and max. So we'll give an example. There is one college database is there. In college database, the average can calculate what in college database. There are what is the important in every time the student marks are important for the semester wise, right? So if you take as an average type, so we will calculate the average marks of the students. Okay. So there is some syntax is there, select average. So if which thing you want to find out the average, I want to find out the average marks from the student, average from student. So overall student marks, I will get the average. Okay. So greatest, least, and ABS. It contains the mathematical function, not a aggregation functions. And upper, lower, and length, it contains the string functions. Upper, lower, and length, it is contain the string functions, not aggregation function. And sort, power, and more, these are the utility functions, not a aggregate function. Simple exam trick I will tell. Aggregate function summarize the data. Count is nothing but it will count the rows. It will count the rows. Sum is nothing but the adds the values, and average is nothing but the calculate the average. Okay. The correct answer for that question is option number B. How many aggregate functions are there? Sum, count, average, and average, min, and max. Moving to the next question. Question number 17. If a relation is in 2NF and 3NF forms, then what? No non-prime attribute is functionally dependent on other non-prime attributes. No non-prime attribute is functionally dependent. All attributes are functionally dependent on prime attributes. Prime attribute is functionally independent of all non-prime attributes. So the correct answer for this question is option number A. No non-prime attribute is functionally dependent on other non-prime attributes. Okay, now this question is related to the 3NF. If it is in a 3NF, it is already in a 2NF. The 2NF removes what? The 2NF is remove the transitive dependency. What is the 2NF rule? It remove the transitive dependency. Remove transitive dependency. That means what? Non-prime attributes should not depend on another non-prime attributes. So every non-prime attributes, it is not depend upon another non-attributes. So that we call as a transitive dependency. Suppose there is one student table is there. The student table contains student ID. Student table contains student ID, department ID, and department name. There are three columns are there in a student table. Student ID, department ID and department name. So yes, student ID is depend upon what? The student ID is depend upon department ID, and department ID is depend upon department name. Here department name is directly depends upon what? The department name is indirectly is depend upon the student ID. So this is nothing but the transitive dependency. The non-prime attribute is depend upon another non-prime attribute. Okay. So here student ID is depends upon department ID, and department ID is depend upon department name, but partially. The department name is indirectly depend upon student ID. This we call as a transitive dependency. So in 3NF, we are removing these type of transitive dependence. These type of dependency we are removing using the 3NF, that we call as a remove the such transitive dependency. Okay, the correct answer is option A. No non-prime attribute is functionally dependent. It is an incomplete statement. These are all incomplete statements. The correct answer is option A. Now moving to the next question. Question number 18. The end of an SQL command is denoted by what? End of line character, enter key marker, entering F4 key, and semicolon. The end of an SQL command is denoted. End of SQL is nothing but we are terminating the SQL statement using the semicolon. The correct option is semicolon. For example, there is one syntax is there. Select the star from student. select star from student, then semicolon. So here our syntax is completed. We are terminating. The end of the line is nothing but we are terminating the statement. It is nothing but the semicolon. While executing multiple SQL commands together, the semicolon separate the each and every comment. Okay. The end of the line character, it is not a mandatory. And enter key is only moves the cursor. It moves the cursor. So F4 key is no role in a SQL termination. The SQL end of the SQL command is nothing but we are terminating a SQL statement using the semicolon. Okay. We're going to the next question. Question number 19. In a database table, the category of information is called. The category of information is called a tuple, field, record, and all of these. The information of each and every column or every cell we call as a field. The correct answer is field. Field means single category of information in a table. If you want to know any single category information, then that single category we called as a field. For example, so there is some student table is there is some roll number is there, and name, marks and department. There are different columns are there. Roll number, name. For example, I am taking roll number and name. So these each and every rule number is nothing but one field. Name is nothing but one field. So we'll give a real-time example. In a bank database, account number is nothing but one field. Customer name is nothing but one field. So like that, different columns are there. The different column values we call as a fields. So tuple means we already know tuples means nothing but the rows. Then what is the record? Record is also nothing but the rows. Okay. Move on to the next question. Question number 20. Which of the following statement is true? Foreign key field do not allow duplicate values. In primary key field, you can enter duplicate value. In indexed field, you may or may not enter duplicate value depending upon setting. All of the above. The correct answer is for this question is an indexed field you may or may not enter duplicate value depending upon the settings. So index fields for indexed field may allow the duplicate values. Indexed field it will allow the duplicate values on whether the index is unique or non-unique. If the index is unique or if the index is non-unique, so it is allows what? It will allows the duplicate values. So we'll give one simple example. There is some phone number field is there. The phone number may use unique index. Yes. So we need to add compulsory a phone number. So if any application form, there is some mandatory fields are there. If the phone number field is there, that is the star mark is there. That phone number we need to enter the value compulsory. So there is only unique value. Sorry, if the wrong mobile number you entered, it will not accept. And there is city names are there. The city name is use non-unique index because many people belong to the same city. Yes. So each and every person have only the same single phone number. The two persons may not have same phone number, but city, the two persons may have same city name. So this is nothing but the non-unique values and this nothing but the unique values. This index can have unique values as well as non-unique values. Okay. Now moving to the next question.